The jazz club next door is playing their last song of the night, but the rain on the window taps to its own beat, and it'll keep dancing long after they've closed. I haven't seen the sun in days, and I'm starting to forget what color looks like. I don't know where the smoke is coming from. I'm starting to grow concerned. This is a noir film, where the whiskey is measured in fingers, and crimes are solved with only slightly lesser evils. Hey buddy, missed you. Hello, and welcome to another episode of The List, the only show on YouTube that my mother knows by name. I'm your host, Travis, and I'm excited because today we are talking about one of my favorite movies on the list, 1941's The Maltese Falcon. Let's get started.
You went for me and I kept just waiting.
The Maltese Falcon begins with Sam Spade, private detective, and his partner, Miles Archer, being hired to follow a man by your average femme fatale, Bridget O'Shaughnessy. Miles is shot that evening while on assignment, and later that night, the man Miles was following winds up dead as well. Sam is suspected of one murder, or the other, or both?
Who do you think I shot?
Miss O'Shaughnessy returns and begs Sam to protect her, and she fills him in on the story. Sam has found himself on the tail end of a globe-trotting adventure to find an expensive MacGuffin, the Maltese Falcon, a gold statuette encrusted with jewels but painted black to conceal its worth, trying to stay ahead of the police and the many parties after it, and through a combination of great detective work and coincidence, Sam gets a hold of the Falcon and plans to make a deal. He'll give up the bird in exchange for a fall guy to the murders. Most everyone agrees on the young henchman. And the bird is delivered. It's revealed to be a fake, and both payment and fall guy split. Sam immediately calls the police on the whole group, including Miss O'Shaughnessy, giving her only minutes to confess to what he already knows. She killed Miles, and Sam, no one's fool, sends her down the river for it.
In spite of anything I've done, I love you.
I don't care who loves who. I won't play the sap for you.
In 1941, while Orson Welles was hitting roadblocks with Citizen Kane, another first-time director was making history just across town. John Huston, screenwriter for Warner Brothers, was told he would be directing and could choose his first project. Obviously, he chose The Maltese Falcon because that's what we're talking about, and that worried some of the bigwigs. The IP had bombed not just once, but twice in just the last 10 years. It was really only because the studio head, Jack Warner, had given his word that Huston could pick his project, that he was allowed to go on with it at all. The film was given a relatively small budget of $30,000, and Warner Brothers did little to promote the film. They even threatened to fire Huston if he ever went over budget. Despite what must have been a lot of pressure, the cast and crew amused themselves with pranks for any visitors on set. They had so many that they had them numbered. Someone would yell out, "Number 10!" And Peter Lorre would come out of Mary Astor's room, zipping up his fly and saying, "See you later, Mary." I deeply apologize for that terrible Peter Lorre impression. Even with all this horseplay, the film wrapped a couple of days early and under budget, and when it was released, the reviews started pouring in, hailing it as an instant classic. They were not wrong. Due to the warnings from higher-ups, Huston was adamant about never falling behind schedule and meticulously planned every scene with sketches and notes for himself. Back before storyboards were a common thing, Huston had a binder full of plans, memos, and pictures, plotting out the entire film. On days they finished their scheduled shoots, Huston took them to a nearby golf club to relax and talk about anything except the movie. This scene with Gutman, played by first-time actor Sidney Greenstreet, is a 7-minute long sequence. The camera follows the two men around the room, and one mistake, they were back to one. The cast and crew, especially Greenstreet, nailed it on the first take. 7 minutes into the day, they wrapped and went for a swim. Huston followed the book as best he could. And now we get to the Hays Code. When I started making videos, I knew it wouldn't take long for this to come up. After all, the fighting and stretching of the Hays Code is the story of Hollywood itself. It deserves its own episode, but for now, all you need to know is that it was a set of rules for films that served only to limit storytelling. For instance, Huston had to fight long and hard to have Spade's drinking in the film. Alcohol was forbidden unless the plot demanded it, but Huston argued that it was a breach of character for Spade not to partake in a bottle or two. Peter Lorre's character, Joel Cairo, is overtly homosexual in the book, which was just not gonna fly. But Huston took out the direct wording and changed little else. He still had his perfumed handkerchiefs and his effeminate personality, but no one says that he's gay, so we bypassed the code entirely. Though not for the Hays Code, he did have to justify the use of cigarettes in the final scene as they're all nervously waiting for the package to arrive. Warner hated smoking in films, as he thought it encouraged smokers to step out of the movie. The dailies showed that the lack of smoking killed the mood he was going for, and he begged and pleaded until he finally got permission to use it. Film noir, French for black film, is more of a style than a genre, with long shadows meant to represent the nihilistic protagonists and their world. It was a reaction to the uncertainty after the Great Depression and the disillusionment of post-war America. These movies are so dark and cynical that the French just fucking loved them. The Maltese Falcon wasn't just the first film noir, it became a rough template. Later films, like future episode Double Indemnity, would cement the defining characteristics, but you can see them budding here. A story of greed, corruption, and dangerous women. The anti-hero's fast-paced dialogue cuts through the BS with incompetent flatfoots and the criminal underbelly alike. And my personal edition, if anyone is happy at the end, it's not noir. Spade is the stereotypical hard-boiled detective. The only thing looser than his ethics are his women. Listen to this.
When a man's partner's killed, he's supposed to do something about it. And it happens we're in the detective business. Well, when one of your organization gets killed, it's bad business to let the killer get away with it.
He isn't bothered so much by his partner Archer dying, only that it makes him look bad as a detective if he doesn't close this case.
Oh, have Miles' desk move out of the office and have Spade and Archer taken off all the doors and windows and have Samuel's Spade put on.
Before we go, let's talk about the bird itself and Spade's last words about it.
The stuff that dreams are made of.
That statue was originally a tribute, a symbol of honor to the King of Spain. It has since become a corruption of that honor, with men and women lying, stealing, and killing for it. Sam's comment, the stuff that dreams are made of, points out that it's insubstantial. It's a MacGuffin. It could have been anything wrapped in that newspaper, and someone, somewhere, would have killed for it. There are levels of philosophy here that are reserved for higher learned people than I. I have a lot of love for this film. I connect with Sam and love his smooth talk and quick wit.
And as far as I can see, my best chance of clearing myself of the trouble you're trying to make for me is by bringing in the murderers all tied up. And the only chance I've got of catching them and tying them up and bringing them in is by staying as far away as possible from you and the police, because you'd only gum up the works. You getting this all right, son, or am I going too fast for you?
No, sir. I'm getting it all right.
Good work.
The style and atmosphere are amazing. It even inspired me to write my own detective novel. Humphrey Bogart spent the rest of his career trying to find another project as meaningful to him as The Maltese Falcon was. I know there is a stigma on black and white films for this generation, but I think this is the movie to change a lot of minds. It's smart, fast-paced, and I think its themes of following your own code and personal gain resonate just as much today as when it was new. Rent it on Amazon for $3, and I promise you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Join me next time when we leave the dark, gritty world of noir for enough Technicolor to choke on. Good night.